The heavier, they're stronger. They're not made out of paper mache.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President Obama.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald.
Hello, and thank you for calling the Trump Derangement Syndrome Hotline. Please listen to the following menu options as
preferred pronoun they
may have changed. Press 1 to find out if Donald Trump is still your president. Press 2 to hear comforting lies from Rachel Maddow. Press 3 to hear the latest diary entry from Jim Acosta. Press 4 for comforting chants of He Will Not Divide Us. Press 5 to renew your subscription of crayons and coloring books. Press 6 for help in locating your nearest safe space. Press 7 to report the use of a Pepe meme. Press 0 or simply remain on the line to hear comforting sounds of snapping. You may return to this list of menu options at any time by pressing star.
One eternity later.
But just quickly, here are the facts on Shifty Schiff. This honest guy makes up my statements. He said, the president of Ukraine repeatedly declared that there was no pressure, but he didn't want to say that. We said, say it. Say it, you crooked bastard, say it. But he doesn't want to say it. We said, say it. I'd like to force him to say it. He'll walk up to the mic. Ladies and gentlemen. Guy's a total corrupt guy. Listen.
Hello and good evening, everyone. It's standalone video time, so I'm trying to figure out exactly how to schedule this, where I can kind of do this, but it seems to be the best way to do it is live, because then I don't have to record a video, have it live on my computer, but I can just upload it automatically. So this is kind of what we've been doing. So tonight we're going to go over Keith Olbermann, which is, I guess, what would have been the typical subject of overtime, as I've been calling my episodes that are beyond our normal time during Thinking Logically at 2 p.m. Eastern on weekdays. So whenever we do the weekend stuff, I just call it overtime because it's, overtime. So we're going to go through some of these Keith Olbermann bits, but first I want to introduce people if you haven't already seen this, to John Ward. I really hope he's going to be in the fight this election cycle. A really great memer and creates really awesome videos, and he did this video on with Keith Olbermann, which is obviously the subject material of tonight's episode. And he does these videos, John Ward does, with these, it's like this person ends this person's career. And so, and usually it's that person ended their own career is the joke. And in this particular one, it was when Keith Olbermann stopped doing the video portions of his podcast and kind of went into, I don't know, making videos of him in his luxury apartment in New York over Central Park, as opposed to actually just doing videos like our normal commenter. So I'm not really sure when the Countdown podcast started for him, but I really hope he does the video stuff again because it's just so memeable, as is exemplified here.
I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. I am confident now, even more so than I have been throughout the last year, that this nightmare presidency of Donald John Trump will end prematurely and end soon, and I am thus also confident that this is the correct moment to end this series of commentaries. The important stuff first.
This is Keith Olbermann. I'm not sure what Keith is looking at, but if unlike his creepy, beady reptile eyes, your binocular vision is still functioning properly, then he looks like he's going to do exactly what he's going to do. End Keith Olbermann's career.
There are 7 routes in front of Trump.
The US version is route.
There are 7 routes.
Route.
Routes.
Route.
Each inevitably ends in his impeachment or resignation. The first, the likeliest, became 1,000 times more likely with the Thanksgiving news of a possible deal between Robert Mueller and General Michael Flynn.
Keith Olbermann actually thinks Mueller met with General Flynn to flip on Trump.
As I reported here as long ago as April 4th,
I was sure you were going to say first.
The most specifically qualified expert alive on the subject of prosecuting a president, my friend, the Nixon White House counsel John Dean, put it to me very simply. Mueller is not shooting down. Mueller does not make a deal with Flynn to get Paul Manafort. He does not make a deal with Flynn to get Jared Kushner. He does not make a deal with Flynn to get Trump Jr. Mueller makes a deal with Flynn to get
Hillary Clinton.
Period.
So, I mean, think about this video. This video is, let's just check the date on this one. This one is November 28th, 2017. So we're talking about at least 5 years and 8 months or so. So 5 years and, well, no, like 10 months. 5 years and 10 months. This is the same attitude that Keith Olbermann has had this entire time. Like, so, I mean, it's rent free. These people, you want to put one of the let me do this very quickly, and we're just very shorthand. Anybody that followed the whole Q thing, I think, understood by the end of it, if you didn't get sucked up into it with the saying, oh, at any time now, understood that mostly what it was doing was trying to break people out of the mainstream news media cycle, breaking people out of the narrative matrix. That was, I believe, what the purpose was. I think, unfortunately, too many people got sucked up in that. I don't know if, we can still help those people, right? So I don't see that as like unnecessary collateral damage. But it is very similar to what they're doing to their people now, or that all along. It was like, we're going to get Trump, 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 we're going to have arrests, we're going to have indictments, we're going to have this, right? So it's very similar. You can't, I think it would be naive and and actually, unhealthy to not understand that there is a parallel, or at least a similarity, into how that was presented versus how this is presented for them with this this Get Trump thing. So again, November 28th, which is 1 month after the first Q post, this is the same attitude that Keith has had for this entire time. However, we, if you did end up following that at the time, have changed, or at least evolved into understanding that we're going to extrapolate from that. We are the people that we're here we are the people that are here to save us. That's what I mean to say. We are the people, right? We the people. We are going to do this. Where we go on, we go all type of, if you want to put that moniker out there, I see that in the YouTube chat. That is, yeah, sure. This is what we're going to do. We understand that we are the ones that have to do that. And I think that we're at an advantage because we understand that that's what has to happen. However, using the mainstream media example that I was just saying, where people are trapped inside of this narrative matrix, you put the experience that we had, and now understanding that we are the people that they're here to save us. Then you have, but they're still trapped inside of this narrative matrix, which tells them, we are here to solve your problems. We are here to solve the ills of humanity. We are here to do this. You don't need to do anything. We're winning. That's so. It's like holding up a mirror to the control mechanisms, and then we were able to see through the feedback loop. And I think, I'm not saying that only but for that project, that back channel, would we be where we are now. I'm saying that it was a catalyst that helped things worldwide, that now we have a way to essentially cancel out the wave pattern that is the fake news media. Sorry, continue on.
The Flynn deal report suggests Mueller has completely assembled the backbone of his case and is now just hanging the meat from it.
Oh, you mean like a side of beef?
And just as importantly, if Flynn has merely considered a deal from Mueller, it almost necessarily means...
Almost necessarily.
Flynn either doesn't believe he would get a pardon from Trump, or that Mueller, as I've also reported here, has succeeded in finding a way around Trump's pardon power. And either of these near certainties spell Trump's doom.
Not even Keith Olbermann can follow Keith Olbermann's 7 routes to Trump's impeachment.
So that's the most obvious of the 7 ways for Trump to go now. The second way is, as I've also repeatedly suggested here, that Mueller doesn't really need to prove anything.
Mueller doesn't need to prove anything.
It's hard to pick out a key player in the Trump inner circle who could not be guilty of it. Trump could be impeached on just obstruction of justice and a few lesser charges. Nixon was about to be.
Fuck me, I was just giving you a hard time, Keith, but you actually can't remember more than one route at a time. I hope you don't forget about Questlove.
There is a third way. We could be spared the trauma of a Russia impeachment or an obstruction of justice impeachment, as we were spared it with Nixon. Those around him who could still sell themselves by selling him out will force him to resign. A modified version of this, of course, is the fourth possible outcome.
Oh, you practiced this one. Nice.
Even if Mueller is months away from his denouement,
you can actually see Olbermann praying that he pronounces denouement correctly. He doesn't.
The Republicans will impeach or remove Trump by spring purely to save their own asses.
And by the way, that would be spring of 2018.
Not only were Democratic victories overwhelming, but half of them were little morality plays. The 26-year-old lesbian beats the Republican in the district Trump won by nearly 40 points a year ago. The transgendered candidate in Virginia beats the guy who wrote an anti-equality bathroom bill. The boyfriend of a news reporter shot to death on camera beats the Republican pro-NRA candidate.
Good job on remembering all that weird shit, but now that you need to be coherent again, better check your notes.
Richard Nixon was not forced out of office by Democrats, not really even by Watergate.
Well, do I need to point it out again? No, but it's fun.
So that's the fourth way out. Trump becomes more of an albatross to Republicans, and more importantly, more of a rallying cry to Democrats, and the Republicans remove him before the midterms, and then boastfully run for re-election on having removed him. The fifth endgame is the same thing, only faster. The Republicans around him pull off that palace coup.
There is a priceless secret being kept from Keith Olbermann, and that secret is called a pop filter.
Mike Pence and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell eject Trump by simply stating he is unfit and getting their majorities to agree he's unfit. And if you don't think Pence and Ryan and McConnell would do that, you didn't see Trump's crazy tweet about the Man of the Year award or this thing in front of the Native Americans on Monday, and you don't know Pence and Ryan and McConnell.
You don't know Pence and Ryan and McConnell, but does Keith know Route 6? Nope.
The sixth means by which Trump leaves early is, of course, that if the Republicans don't impeach Trump before the midterms, the Democrats will be able to after the midterms. The Democrats could take the House. But now there is a seventh new path to destruction for Trump, and it has bubbled up from the sewer of his life recently. And even with how Teflon he has been on this particular subject, it seems hard to believe the dam won't break.
For a second there, I was impressed by Olbermann knowing Route 7 by heart, but it's hard to believe that the dam what break?
The dam won't break. Dam. His sexual conduct.
What?
There's not one snowball, but a decade's worth of them.
Between Olbermann and Trump, I have a hunch the decade's worth of snowballs leans a little more towards Olbermann.
It seems impossible to believe.
But does it seem impossible?
That some claimant somewhere does not have tangible evidence against Trump.
You're accidentally bringing up a good point here, Keith. How is it possible that not a single credible accusation has arisen since Trump became president? On an unrelated note, I wonder what Occam's razor is.
He's obviously trying to work the refs of public opinion in advance for whatever is coming next, from a woman here or from Russia.
The hell you looking at, Keith? That was 7.
So, I don't see any way out for Trump.
That sentence shouldn't require notes.
7 freight trains rushing at him. He might avoid a few. He might avoid 6 of them. He's not going to dance his way out from under all 7.
6 freight trains can be trumped with evasive dancing. 7, though, no fucking way.
Why would a president, even one as crazy as Nixon, ever do this? And more importantly, even if he were somehow guilty, how would he ever be dumb enough to leave any evidence of his guilt? And 16 days later, it turned out virtually everything in the Oval Office had been taped. And the ballgame was over, even though it would last another 13 months. It was over, even though it would last another 13 months. Well, this ballgame is also over. And I don't think it's going to last another 13 months.
This is really starting to creep me out. This is still funny.
And I am proud of it, and I repudiate none of it. And it has been my privilege to do it, and I'm especially proud to have done these videos for free and for charity.
Well, yeah, who wants to deal with that echo in your basement? I mean studio, I mean Ma, the meatloaf. Fuck. I never know what she's doing back there.
So this is a video from John Ward. He's a memer that was on the scene back in the day. First go around, I don't know, burnout or just in general, just life stuff. But I remembered this video from him with because of the Keith Olbermann stuff, and so I wanted to go back and see and you know remember, so to speak, what his state of mind was, or what he was talking about, what his demeanor was, and it really hasn't changed in the past. Let me go back 6 years, so, 5 to 6 years, and so he is seriously just deranged. And so we're going to do a little bit of a wellness check over here on Keith Olbermann, because he's thinking that McCarthy is committing treason. They're something about Tucker Carlson. It's just absolutely nuts. So we're going to go ahead and check this out. Here we go.
Kevin Owen McCarthy, representative of the 20th California Congressional District and 55th Speaker of the House of Representatives, has jeopardized the security and safety of every representative and every senator and every staffer and the continuity of the government of the United States of America, and publicly admitted committing the act by which he did so. He must be indicted and arrested. We know now that Tucker Carlson gained access to the January 6th video by a dishonest sleight of hand executed by Speaker McCarthy, that Congressman Brian Stile asked the Capitol Police to set up a video terminal so he, Stile, could view the footage in his capacity as chairman of the House Administration Committee. But McCarthy, acting without authorization and without even the minimal decency to warn Capitol Police, whose lives he would also risk by his actions.
Risk by his actions of what? Producing the footage that's of the public areas. So we talked about this a little bit earlier today, both on the Normal Thinking Logically show, and then also Deplorable Discussions with 412 and TN Homesteader, about they had the opportunity to release all this footage. They had their opportunity to release all this stuff without compromising what they call a lot of what they're complaining about is like, I even heard someone use the word safe rooms, which I guess, okay, fine. I wouldn't even have thought of that until they said it. Then evacuation routes or whatever, because obviously that couldn't be changed for whatever reason. But no one gives a shit about that. They're giving in to their own propaganda, or their own delusions, right? Their own delusions tell them that, oh, if anyone has this information, that, oh, my life is in danger, or this and that. It's like, no one gives a shit. All we cared about was transparency with the voting. Like there's no one has any plans to do anything about whatever their fear porn minds say is going to happen. It was never about that. It was always about, we believe that the crowd was instigated unprovoked by Capitol Police. Why didn't you examine that?
Then gave Carlson access to that terminal designed for Brian Stile. If the Capitol Police Board cannot or will not act on its own to close the terminal to Carlson and to House Republicans until the nation can be assured Brian Stile and Kevin McCarthy are not lying about who the viewing station is for today, the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice need to step in. They must block Tucker Carlson's access to that video, the secrecy of which is vital to the safety of the United States Capitol, and the containment of which is essential to prevent another violent assault by some of Tucker Carlson's viewers, an assault designed to overthrow the government of the United States.
So here's the thing, is that the only reason why anything happened on the 6th of January in 2021 was because of that particular election. There is no standing orders from any of these groups that they call white supremacist groups or whatever, or the seditious conspiracy stuff from the Oath Keepers or Proud Boys or any of the, I don't even know the names of the other groups. There is no like standing thing that's going on there. There was no continuing threat. Neither was there one on the day of, aside from the agitators and the people that got out of hand with the riot. There is no persistent threat. I mean, they even have to inflate the numbers for the quote-unquote domestic terrorist threat count based upon, I mean, they'll label, if someone in a prison somewhere carries out some sort of a hit or a crime or whatever they do, or some sort of agitation, and it's a like for their statistics, if it's like, just for an example, like a white person hits an Asian person or a black person, that they consider that a hate crime and they put it in the statistics. This is a known thing. This is something that's a problem. They're just putting generalities of basic, like even going to, like I said, even going that far, incidents that aren't necessarily crimes in a municipality, like, or in a jurisdiction, like it's within like a prison. They're including those in these statistics.
And the Department of Justice needs to investigate which laws Speaker McCarthy and Congressman Steil have violated and indict and arrest them accordingly. Unilaterally granting a grandstanding propagandist of dubious sanity access to the video is bad enough, and it violates national security interests. But to do it by scam, like the one McCarthy and Steil have run, is sufficient to merit prosecution and sufficient for Democrats in the House to bring motions of censure and even expulsion for both of these blindly, brazenly, irresponsibly stupid supposed public servants. Tucker Carlson and Fox News have no more right to see this unedited video than Vladimir Putin does. Tucker Carlson's conduct, his irresponsibility over decades, his disloyalty to this country, suggest he is the last person in this country who should control what happens to this video. And Kevin McCarthy is the next to last person in this country who should control what happens to this video. McCarthy, finally, has said something about his actions. Unfortunately, what he said sounds like something said by a child. He told the New York Times last night, quote, "I promised," unquote.
Yeah, to release the footage, yes, okay, fine. Well, as far as I'm concerned, he still has not. All he has done is allowed the Tucker Carlson show from Fox News, allowed access to this terminal. That's as far as it's gone. But at the same time, well, after that had happened, you have Jamie Raskin, Adam Kinzinger, you had Adam Schiff, you had Zoe Lofgren, you had Claire McCaskill. I know she wasn't a current member of Congress, but she's a past one, but a pundit on MSNBC. They're just terrified of this footage coming out, and you have to wonder, hey, why? Why are you terrified about this stuff coming out? And they're seeding all of the fake, mainstream media right now of like, you can't believe anything you see from this. Everything you need to hear about this comes from us. It's the same thing with, what's his name? They get Chris Cuomo, right? He's like, you don't need to read WikiLeaks. Everything you're hearing about the WikiLeaks is from us. It's illegal to actually download anything from WikiLeaks. It's the same kind of tone, right? Which we should recognize from our pattern recognition is as complete bullshit.
Added, I was asked in the press about these tapes, and I said they do belong to the American public. I think sunshine lets everybody make their own judgment, unquote. Of course, here McCarthy is both lying and mistaken. The so-called promise he made, the one that jeopardizes the lives of every member of Congress, including his own.
How? Can you explain? Can you expand on that? How does having footage of what happened on January 6th within the hallways of the public areas jeopardize national security? Oh, right. Okay. It's the same thing as with 9/11. It's like disclosing how we came up with the way Building 7 fell would jeopardize national security. Anytime these people run to conspiracy theories, jeopardize national security, or if they're really panicked, they'll run to QAnon in the recent years, right? They'll like, it's just this theory. Oh, it's this theory. Oh, and then if they get really desperate, they go run the QAnon conspiracy theory. They just call it that. It's like, what are you talking about? That wasn't in the information. That wasn't in those that back channel information. That wasn't in there. What are you talking about? They're like, no, it's just this, and you should dismiss it because apparently QAnon in the media is the new conspiracy theory dismissal for within the public narrative.
Was made not to the American public, but to the insurrectionists in his own party who demanded the public release of the remaining security video so they could cherry pick from it as part of their price for voting for him for Speaker. Additionally, under no circumstances is Tucker Carlson the American public. His audience may seem large in a...
Fine, release it to the American public, but I'm sure that they'll have some sort of objection to that. Release it to the public. That's what we're saying. And we're still calling for it to be released to the public. So there is something about them giving it to Tucker Carlson and his crew being able to go through it. That doesn't mean that that's the end-all be-all of it. We still need to press Kevin McCarthy to release it to the public, right? So that still needs to happen. But we can still have a better situation today than we had yesterday, right?
Cable news context, but it is about the same as Friday Night Wrestling on Fox, and it is about half that of 60 Minutes. Last Friday, 2,788,000 Americans watched Carlson's show, meaning the other 330 million did not. Additionally, McCarthy's use of the word sunshine in any context relating to Tucker Carlson is certainly a first in the history of the world. But before his very limited and very scared-sounding quote to the newspaper, Kevin McCarthy's team spoke volumes. Yesterday, it blasted a fundraising email. It was not titled Kevin McCarthy Gives American Public Access to January 6 Tapes. It was titled Kevin McCarthy Gives Tucker Carlson Access to Those Tapes.
I brought this up yesterday, and I still maintain this until I see something otherwise. They are tricking these people into wanting all of the video footage. They are tricking all, and I think because they don't want all this stuff coming out. They don't. This is why you see the Raskin, the same people I mentioned before. They just don't want this coming out. And so by going to Tucker Carlson, because of the recent lawsuit and the text message revelations by the whole Dominion lawsuit thing and the discovery parts, which just, if anyone doesn't know, within the discovery for Fox News' part, what's the guy's name? I want to say it's Eric Coomer. Eric Coomer, in text messages or in emails, had said that I'm paraphrasing, our stuff is really buggy. It's like, it's crazy what's going on with our software, in paraphrase. So him going over there, it's a big giant it's a big giant like play. I don't know how else to describe it. This is like theater. It's like it's kabuki theater. It's whatever it is. This is these people going to war with these different narratives. So if they take this back to Fox News, to me, because of what does January 6th represent? January 6th represents people being thinking that the vote was not secure, thinking that the election was not what it was was not on the up and up. So Fox News gets sued by Dominion. So then he brings it over to Fox News. What are they going to do with it? It's almost like they're trying to create this situation where they're creating a situation where they're giving the grievance of the people to Fox News. Like, this is why people had questions about the election. This is why it's almost like a dare for the lawsuit between Dominion and Fox News of like, hey, we actually know what's going on. Do you want to continue with this discovery? Because we can do this all day as far as this discovery is concerned with the election stuff. And we can either show that this thing was, and this is the, I guess I would suppose would be the bad part of this, because if somehow this is a ploy to dismiss the $1 billion plus lawsuit by saying we have the footage that shows that this is an inside job, that we can show that there's these feds here, or we can show that there's this there. We can show that January 6th was justified. We can show this. I don't know. I think that remains to be seen. I think that is something that we need to make sure we're monitoring. But it could be a way for them to say, cut your losses. Drop your lawsuit. Do you really want to go down this path? But at the same time, we still need to make sure that we're requesting this footage be made public. So as long as people like Keith Olbermann and Adam Schiff and Zoe Lofgren and Jamie Raskin and Adam Kinzinger are requesting this stuff to be made public, by all means, egg them on. We need all this stuff to be public.
Patriot, it begins. You deserve the facts, all of the facts. I have released the full 44,000 hours of uncut camera surveillance footage. McCarthy then fundraises off his actions. Would you consider chipping in $25, $50, or $100 to help House Republicans keep delivering on our commitments to America? The use of America there is a surprise. And you would think that under the circumstances, McCarthy would give donors a DVD showing where all the security cameras and hidden escape routes in the Capitol are located, but no such offer is presented. The use of the personal pronoun in that email, I have released, when the viewing station was set up at the request of Congressman Stile, adds to the evidence that McCarthy lied to the Capitol Police to get their cooperation.
Well, here's the thing about McCarthy. What we know about with Pelosi's role, that she kind of controls Capitol Police. So if Kevin McCarthy, as Speaker, is in charge of Capitol Police and the Sergeant of Arms, at least for the House, so wouldn't he have the authority? So I think there's something. I don't know that relationship. I'm just thinking that I think that we need to figure that one out, because if he has the authority to do so because he is now the Speaker of the House and in control of Capitol security, as Nancy Pelosi was supposed to be on January 6th, well, he might actually have that authority, and it's not up to the Capitol Police, because they respond to that position, respond to that chair.
And it underscores the need for DOJ and Homeland Security to shut down the viewing station today, to shut down Tucker Carlson, and for that matter, to shut down Kevin McCarthy. It would be at this
breathe harder, seethe harder. That was a big, deep breath from him.
Point that a McCarthy or Carlson defender would start yelling about my hypocrisy in wanting the cops to come and stop a journalist from seeing this video. Were there journalists involved in this process, this might in fact be a complicating action. In court, in their own defense, however, Fox and Tucker Carlson have repeatedly and under oath asserted that he is not a journalist.
Well, all right, do the same thing for Rachel Maddow. She said that she should not be taken seriously because she is doing an act. So you can do that all day. Hell, even Alex Jones made the same claim.
There is no more of a free press issue here than there would be if Brian Stile and Kevin McCarthy had connived to put the January 6th footage in the hands of the producers of the aforementioned Friday Night Wrestling show. We know from Tuesday's developments that the Capitol Police Board, made up of the acting architect of the Capitol and the sergeants at arms of the House and the Senate, was supposedly to meet yesterday and perhaps even to vote on whether to shut down the viewing terminal, or at least shut it down from Tucker Carlson and his producers' gaze. But as of recording time, there were no details from that meeting yet, if it indeed took place, nor was information forthcoming from an internal meeting of House Democratic leadership called for Wednesday by Hakeem Jeffries. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer went off on McCarthy and Carlson and Fox and the entire corrupt scumbaggery of this. Quote, "The Speaker, nor any elected official, does not have the right to jeopardize the safety of senators, nor Senate and Capitol staff for their own political purposes." Schumer.
Right. Well, right then and there. He put it in terms of political purposes. Because of that, I deduct major bullshit.
Schumer wrote to the other Democratic senators.
I mean, it is bullshit. I just meant that it wasn't based upon, oh, this is this statute, this is this and this statute in DC code or DC criminal code or within the federal code of conduct. Like there was no citation of an actual criminal statute or even just civil statute. There was nothing that he suggested. It was just like, that's why I know it's bullshit.
Period. Full stop. Schumer fleshed out the security problem that is at the heart of McCarthy's crimes and why officials must intervene. Quote, "The footage Speaker McCarthy is making available to Fox News is a treasure trove of closely held information about how the Capitol complex is protected. It publicly reveals the locations of security cameras across the Capitol grounds. It also risks exposing the carefully laid out and highly guarded plans for the continuity of government intended to preserve our democracy in the event of an attack. The Speaker is needlessly exposing the Capitol complex to one of the worst security risks since 9/11. End quote. Schumer could just as easily have noted that is why McCarthy executed this charade, because Tucker Carlson is his best route to reach those who need to know how the Capitol is protected and where the cameras are and what the continuity plans are. He did note, Schumer that is, that Carlson has no fidelity to the truth. Schumer called him disingenuous, which is a polite way of underscoring the reality here, which is that in the same way George Santos cannot stop lying, Tucker Carlson exists solely to dissemble and manipulate and propagandize. Regrettably, at this point, Chuck Schumer's letter comes to a screeching halt. "Let me be clear," his penultimate paragraph begins. "The Senate strongly objects to the release." But Schumer then says nothing about the Senate taking any action to prevent it or to find those culpable for it, as if there were some reason not to blow up McCarthy and Stile and Fox News, for that matter, by subpoenaing them to appear before a Senate committee.
So what you're implying, I suppose, is that Keith Olbermann is mad at Chuck Schumer, a Democrat. Okay.
These are not traditional fights between two political parties. This is the leader of one party in the House, the Speaker of that august organization, so desperate for power that he committed himself to working against the national security interests of the United States of America. And there are laws against such treachery. If the Senate wants to hold back, or the Democrats of both houses want to hold back, there would seemingly be no other option. In his fundraising email and his quote to the New York Times, Kevin McCarthy has confessed and boasted about it. Quote,
confessed to what?
"I have released the full 44,000."
Oh, right. You mean he's able to do that because he's a Speaker of the House. So it's the same kind of shit. I guess you could link to the Trump Mar-a-Lago stuff. It's like he had the ability and through his actions declassified all this information. NARA wanted him to give it back, and so he's like, okay, fine, but I gotta keep these folders. I only say that because of his recent truths that have said, oh yeah, I basically just kept the folders. Either he's trolling them, or he could have access or had copies of marked classified but were not actually currently classified documents. I've talked about this before, but if I won't get into Mar-a-Lago stuff. We'll save that for tomorrow. But he had the ability to declassify this stuff. So, all right, we won't get into that tonight. We won't. Okay, Keith, you got 10 more seconds.
1,000 hours of uncut camera surveillance footage. Kevin Owen McCarthy has willfully endangered every congressman, senator, staffer, to say nothing of the continuity of the government itself, and therefore he has willfully endangered every American. This is treasonous. Arrest him.
And there you go. The national treasure of comedy, what that is, Keith Olbermann, trying to have political commentary. So, well, there you go. That's going to do it for this particular video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you at 2 p.m. Eastern for the regular programming of Thinking Logically, where we break down all the fake news media. We're going to try to do more standalone videos like this, where it's just one topic, one thing, so I can kind of leave it on the YouTubes, leave it on like a shorter format, although this one was not very short. I had hoped it had been a little bit shorter, but it is what it is. We're at 51 minutes, so we'll see you guys very soon. Have a great night, everyone.